Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us on this Year 10 wrap event this evening. Opportunities like this are a real signal of our ambition, and I know your ambition as well, at home, for us all to work together and succeed together. And as our young people in Year 10 approach the end of Year 10, it's really important that we have this opportunity to look forward and for us to, as I say, to work together and succeed together as parents, and then with our staff giving their time up this evening, of which I'm really appreciative of, to focus on the year ahead. We're coming to the end of the second full week of the GCSE exams, and our Year 11 pupils have been amazing so far. They're doing so well, throwing themselves into their exams with gusto in their revision sessions and the booster sessions that take place in the school day. They're doing really, really well. We're so proud of them. And it was 52 weeks ago that we launched our Raising Achievement Plan, our RAP plan, with the current Year 11. And I'm sure, you probably feel now, that 52 weeks away is a long time and there's not much to worry about because it does seem like a long time. But I can assure you, when I speak to our Year 11 students each morning as they head into an exam, or each afternoon as they head into an exam, and when I meet their parents at the gate at the end of the day, or in parent meetings, etc., they all say the same thing, and how quickly that this year has gone. That it's absolutely flown over. And so many of our Year 11s say now, I wish we'd tried harder, I wish we'd prepared more, and I wish we'd have been to more intervention sessions, etc., in the last 12 months because of how things have flown over. So tonight is about trying to just learn from some of those messages that we're getting from Year 11s and maximise the time for your children in Year 10. So we want to take time then to see what support is in place over the coming year from across the school, from the pastoral teams, but also from our department leads in our core subjects, to set what our expectations are going to be in order to get the most out of the next year. A number of staff are going to talk this evening on lots of matters which will really support you, and more importantly them, as we prepare for their GCSE exams. The first big step in this is the Year 10 mocks, which are coming up. And you're going to get lots of information this evening about those Year 10 mocks. The grades for these mocks are going to be used for setting next year. So their outcome is quite important to ensure that our young people get into the right set to support them through their Year 11 studies. And also the information we get from these mocks will help us quality assure the exact information that pupils are missing, the exact misconceptions they've got, or the exact knowledge gaps that exist. So from that, we'll be able to target intervention really accurately for each individual young person. And then finally, these mocks are going to be really important because it will give them the grades to start to make applications to the HFC Math Sixth Form early in Year 11 or any other colleges that they may be thinking of. So really important. And we're going to find out more this evening how we can support you through these. And before I hand over, it's really important to me, and I know this is recorded, so will be shared further, but it's really important to mention attendance. And I know we'll go on about it a lot, but the reason it's important to stress attendance is because each year when we come here on results day and we analyse the results against prior performance, we analyse results against subgroups, we analyse results against attendance. The biggest single contributing factor towards GCSE success still is strong and consistent attendance. So it doesn't matter how we slice and dice the results when it comes to August. Children with 97% attendance and above achieve their target grades, where those below don't. So attendance is massively important. And that's not me making that up. I can welcome any of you into my office to share the data on that fact. Absence at this stage, like throughout school, leaves real gaps in knowledge, but more importantly, gaps in confidence, because a lot of work now is geared up to preparing pupils to apply their knowledge into their exams. So we don't want to put pupils at a disadvantage by keeping them off school, if at all that can be helped. Today's attendance in Year 10, realistically, is probably one of the lowest in the country. It's really disappointing at the end of today when I looked at the attendance for Year 10. It's significantly below the national average for this year group, and as I say, potentially one of the worst across the country, just coming in at above 78%. The opposite to that really are year 11s. We're at 93% attendance today, which is well above national average. So we've really got a lot of work to do as a year group to making sure that every second counts, and we're getting everything we can about from the great things that are going on inside our classrooms and across the school. Because of all of our best teaching, all of the strategy that we're going to hear about tonight, won't impact any pupils if they're not coming to school. So we really ask for your support in ensuring good attendance every day, whenever possible. As I say, I appreciate the time that all of our staff are giving up this evening for their goodwill, to talk about the year ahead and to provide you with some more information. And without further ado, I'll hand over to the team now for them to give you some of that information, as we've said. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the presentation.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mr. Lou. My role is data and outcomes, and obviously a big part of that is achievement of young people at Key Stage 4 and Year 11. So, like Sir has said, the big focus for our Year 10 pupils is the mock exams that are coming up, and the date's just there at the bottom of the slide. Starting on Monday, the 16th of June, that timetable has been shared via email, and pupils' individual bespoke timetables will be populated on their Arbor over the coming weeks. To support that, I've gone in and spoken to pupils in their assembly about the regulations governing examinations, because yes, this period is all about testing what they do and don't know, and the gaps that we need to plug and improve and to push them on and make their achievement exceptional. But it's also teaching them how to behave in this situation, because there are lots of regulations and rules that govern the exams. They are very strict. They are set by GCQ, who manage the exams in England, and we help train our young people to get used to those regulations. And just to echo Mr. Maddox's point, the current Year 11 have been outstanding in this mock exam period, absolutely outstanding, because they are used to the routine. They know what's going to happen. They know exactly what they need to do, when they need to do it, and they have been exceptional through this process so far. So I've broken down the next 52 weeks into some phases. So the first phase is kind of May to June. So from now up till the mock exams, we have this evening, which is part of that. We will be launching resources through assembly to help students prepare themselves with revision, how to manage their time effectively, how to ensure they sleep properly, all those things that are really, really important to support them to be successful. Okay, and we'll start revision planning and any individual career appointments to support pupils in understanding what their next steps are going to be. Then from July to December, we take in all those mock results. They are reported to you home. Our departments will complete what's called a question level analysis of the mocks, which will lead to any changes in curriculum and targeted support. We'll continue the careers appointments, and we'll start what's known as our personalised Period 6 timetables. So this is run really well with our current Year 11s, where subjects are identifying pupils they need to work with to improve their performance and close any gaps. We then create a timetable which goes on pupils' arbors, saying you need to be, for example, in maths on this day, English on this day, science maybe on this other day. And that runs throughout the week, 4 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And that will start in earnest, okay, in this period. We'll run revision skill sessions. So as well as supporting students on developing and closing the gaps in the knowledge, we'll really work on supporting them in developing their revision techniques, because good quality revision is vital to allowing our pupils to make exceptional progress, which they're capable of. We'll have parents' evenings where you'll be able to come in and speak to the teachers about your child's performance in their subject, what they need to work on, what they need to focus on, what they're doing well, and what they could do better on. And then we'll hold a careers fair again to help support our young people to understand and decide what they need and what they need to do to enable them to achieve their next steps. That'll then lead into our next set of mock exams, which generally happen in around November, so just after the October half term, so in autumn half term 2. Again, that set of mock exams will again be developing that routine, that understanding of how exams will take place, and as well as doing all the other bits that we do, so checking, understanding, identifying gaps and closing gaps. Then from that first set of mock exams in Year 11, From December to April, we will again assess those, complete question level analysis, feedback to yourselves and our young people about what they need to do to close the gaps and improve their learning. We will then reorganise the Period 6 timetable to target pupils again in the subjects that they need to target in to close those gaps. We'll be finishing teaching the curriculum, and our second set of mock exams will happen after the February half term. And they will be reported back to yourselves again. Same process again, question level analysis, targeted group interventions, drop down days for subjects to complete things like coursework. We'll then run February half term school where departments and teachers willingly give up their time to run sessions to help support our young people to close gaps, prepare for the next mock exams. We'll then have breakfast and lunch pre-exam revision sessions in leading up to the examinations, stress busting sessions, and then we'll have some coaching days, coaching, mentoring meetings with staff and pupils as and when they need it. And then April and June is really the run up to the real thing, the summer examinations. So all the curriculum will be taught. It'll all be focused on revision, closing gaps, feedback from those second set of mock exams to really target what are the key areas in the run up to the real things starting in May. We'll develop personalised plans to support pupils with their revision. Again, we'll run Easter and May half-term schools. Again, staff willingly, voluntarily giving up their time to be in school to support our young people. Revision sessions, as Mr. Mannix has identified, we target revision to the subjects and the exams that are coming up, so we ensure that all pupils get access to their teachers for good quality time before their exams. That's supplemented with before and after school sessions as well. And I'm going to hand over to Miss Brown, who's going to talk specifics about.
Hi, good evening. I'm Miss Brown and I'm Head of Science at St Mary's. So I'm just going to talk you through what it is that we are looking and doing with our Year 10 pupils in preparation for these summer mock exams and moving forward into Year 11. So students at St Mary's cover one of two pathways in science. So they either complete a combined science course, of which the information is here. This is where students have two GCSEs that they complete over the course of the 2 years, which is equally distributed in biology, chemistry and physics. When it comes to their summer examinations in Year 11, they will be sitting 6 exams in total. Those exams last for an hour and 15 minutes if they are doing combined science, and they sit 2 papers in biology, 2 papers in chemistry and 2 papers in physics. Now, a really big focus of the course for the students is that 40% of that examination comes from the students' knowledge and understanding. So that is building in for students regular revision that is focusing on the key core knowledge and the key factual concepts that they cover over the course. Now, this allows our students to be really successful if they have that key knowledge and understanding. And I'm going to take you through on a few of the other slides some of the techniques and some of the work that students can be doing independently to help to build upon that. Now, the other pathway that we look at in science at St Mary's is on the separate science pathway, which is on the next slide. So this pathway allows students to complete a separate GCSE in biology, chemistry and physics. And this is then just very slightly different for the 50 students that we have that do this at St Mary's at the moment, in that they have additional time for this in 5 hours. The actual examinations in the summer really are very little difference between them other than the length of the exam and some additional content. So students who sit the triple science or separate science pathway still sit 6 examinations. They still sit 6 examinations with 2 being in biology, 2 being in chemistry and 2 being in physics. But the 2 papers then make their overall grade for the science subject. So therefore they get 1 GCSE in biology, 1 in chemistry and 1 in physics. However, the weighting in terms of how those exams are written is still exactly the same format as it is for combined science. So 40% of that content comes from the students' knowledge and understanding. So a really big focus of what we look at with students in preparation for their exams and their revision is how it is that they can independently build on that knowledge knowledge and understanding. So on the next slide, there are a few techniques that we can go through that is really going to help students both inside the classroom and outside the classroom. So within the classroom, what we look at once we taught the content for the students and we're looking at preparing them for examinations is that we take into account all of this work that Mr. Loon's doing around the Raising Achievement Plan and all of the timetable sessions that fit in around there and the kind of schedule that's laid out and how it is that we can also support that in science. What we've also done and sent home to students in the lead up to these mock exams is an individualised revision timetable for them that's broken down into a evening format of what topics they need to revise when and broken down for them to ensure that before they sit their mock exams, they've covered all of the specification that they need to cover. What we also look at is that when during their lessons, they're given their feedback on their work and given any kind of hints and tips on how to be able to improve on their work and given an opportunity during lessons to make those improvements. Outside of the classroom, we encourage a wide use of a different range of online techniques for students. We live in an age now where information is at their fingertips and that there is an awful lot of different platforms that are available to them to allow them to be able to revise. So our platform that we have that takes our science homework into account on a weekly basis is Tassami. And I'm going to take you through a little bit of information regarding Tassami and why that's so successful for students. So Tassami is the homework platform that we use for students. Students log into their Tassami 4 times a week to be able to complete their daily goals. And this platform focuses solely on the knowledge and understanding for the students. What it does is it has AI built tools within it that therefore means that when students complete each of the individual tasks and daily goals that focus on particular knowledge and understanding, depending on how it is that they've performed on those will then depend on how regularly those topics are revisited. If students are noticed on the AI that they are struggling with a topic, then what they will be given is they will be given kind of like a booster to allow them to be able to access this. So this may be a web link, it may be a video to enable them to support them. What this then gives the students is that you get something that looks like on the screen there, that they get a platform in terms of their weekly goals and their daily goals, the number of correct answers and the time that they've spent, but also you get that as a weekly report as well. And then what is really useful and what our Year 11 parents feedback on as the best visual thing for them is on the right-hand side as their tree. So this tree is really, really useful for students because of the fact that each branch of the tree represents a different area of the specification. So therefore, both as teachers, parents and students, you can hone in on what topics it is that they need to be able to focus on. So the leaves that are coloured red are topics that students are not particularly concrete in and maybe make mistakes on, and the darker the green, the more confident they are, and the larger the leaves, the more frequently they have seen those questions as well. So big dark green leaves means that that student is secure in that area, in that topic. So therefore it means that we can tailor that revision to the students to allow them to be able to access those topics that they are maybe less confident in and also maybe needs a little bit of support in. What we've also started to introduce to students, which is on the next slide, is the use of another AI tool, which is called Cognito. And this is something that we've begun to speak to students about, and we would really like it if you could also speak to your child at home about this. So it is a free revision platform. It also has its own YouTube channel to it as well, which has an awful lot of fantastic short video clips that focuses on the different areas of the specification. I've included a couple of screen grabs there to give you an idea as to what the platform looks like, so that you get individual biology, chemistry and physics topics, both for combined science and for triple science, and that you have a variety of different tools that you can use. So there is lesson videos, quizzes, already ready-made flashcards. Students then can gauge how confident they are in their flashcards and then drop them into different buckets to allow them to see them at a different frequency. There is also exam style questions and past paper questions for them to be able to look at. If they register accounts, which we've encouraged the students to be able to do, it also then includes a tracker so that students can then monitor their progress. And similar to what is given in Tassami, it can then also flag up for the students where it is that they maybe have a weaker topic and allowing them to be able to focus on those topics. With how hard the Year 10 students have already worked this year, this focusing of their weaker topics is what is going to be the key to their success. Rather than having a generalised revision, them having a better understanding of the particular and focused topics that they know they need to revise on, rather than just a generalised approach to it, is what's going to allow them to be the most successful that they can be in the lead up to their examinations. If you've got any further questions, then you can get in contact with me, but I'm going to hand you over to our next subject now.
Good evening, my name's Miss Daniels and I'm the Head of Maths. First of all, I'd just like to quickly go through what the qualification looks like for maths. We follow the Edexcel examination board, which involves 3 papers. Paper 1 is a non-calculator and the second 2 papers are both calculator papers. Students will need a scientific calculator for paper 2 and paper 3, but we use the same calculators in lessons as we provide in the examination to ensure that students are familiar with that calculator and can achieve the best grades. As with science, we're one of the few subjects that are still tiered. We don't look finally for tiers till about January of year 11. However, the tiers are for higher, we're looking at grades from 9 to 3 and foundation from 5 to 1. The guidance from the exam board is that unless a student is working towards a grade 6, they should not be following the higher tier, which is something we like to make our students aware of very early so they know exactly where they need to be targeting by January of year 11. Preparing for our mock exams, there are a number of materials our students will have. On every single Google Classroom, there is a revision list including Sparks codes to help the students to target where their revision needs to be aimed. However, there are topics that might not be explicitly listed in this list that students will still need to be aware of. For example, understanding what a prime number is or what factors are when applying this knowledge to prime factor decomposition. Throughout the year, we'll be using exam papers from the start to ensure our students are familiar with the papers, and these will be provided as homeworks throughout the year. When the students complete the past paper, they will be given a week to complete the paper, which is an hour and a half, and then in the second week, the video of this, a walkthrough like a walking talking mock, which the students are very familiar with, will be put up onto their Google Classroom, which allows the students to mark, correct, and see where they might have had issues on that paper. At this point, then, the member of staff will collect the papers in and look at those areas to provide support and interventions for those students to ensure that they are improving on every single paper. There are also a number of resources on our Google Classroom, including online flashcards. We understand our students like to use flashcards, and it involves them just being prepared for them rather than them having to create them themselves. Revision mats, which are a combination of different topics to ensure that students can dip in and out of different topics to improve their grades. And then topics per page, which are based on one grade. So, for example, if a student is targeting a grade 5 and they are currently working on a grade 4, they can look at those areas and ensure that they are improving in those topics. After the examination, we'll be looking at what support we can give all the students to help them improve. We will be giving all students a new copy of the mock paper to go home and support themselves to try it again after the intervention. And every student will get a question level analysis to ensure that they know exactly which areas they need to work on. Throughout the year and the next year and a half, this provides every single one of our students with a personalised revision list 2 or 3 times a year. If the students have lost their revision list that they got given in January, feel free to get in touch with the front office or ring me and I will get them a new copy to help and support them moving up to their mock. After they've conducted the mocks and completed them, this then becomes the key time for them because it's what we do next with that data. We will be looking at our curriculum, changing our curriculum based on the feedback we get from the mocks to ensure that we are closing gaps for every student. All the interventions the students will be involved in between the mock exams and summer and then moving into year 11 will also be based on these areas of weakness. Therefore, we're at every moment and every opportunity, we are improving the grades by closing gaps in students' knowledge. As I said, all homeworks will involve a video to help and support the students. And as well as this, we'll be also providing videos for the mocks, which means that after they've gone through them in lessons, they still can refer back to those questions and help them to support themselves in the future. Other resources that students might be useful, we've mentioned Google Classroom and everything that's on Google Classroom. What I would suggest is that every single material we put up, we include mark schemes, as it's really important not just to complete the questions, but to understand when the students have got things right, wrong, and how they need to improve. If there are areas on these questions that the students still do not understand, they are welcome to bring them in to any of our math staff, and we'll sit with them and support them and help them improve those areas. Sparks Maths is another resource like Tassimo for science. This includes revision videos, quizzes, so students can understand whether they are improving in those areas. So it's not just a case of going away and revising those areas, it's a case of retesting themselves and ensuring that the progress has been made. There is a link to On Maths on Google Classroom. On Maths is an online past paper which self-marks as the students go through, so they can see what sort of grades they are aiming at as they go through the questions. Alongside that, there is a YouTube video which again helps the students to understand how to improve. We will be offering some after-school intervention sessions for our students moving up towards the mocks, so they just need to ask their member of staff about when those sessions will be available for them. I'm now going to hand over to Mrs. Keating to talk to you about GCSE RE.
Hi everyone, my name is Mrs. Keating and I'm an RE teacher here at St Mary's. So for the RE paper, students at the end of year 11 will sit 3 papers. The first paper is an hour and 45 minutes and that's worth 50% of their overall grade. And that's based on Catholic Christianity. So it includes Catholic belief and teachings, Catholic practices, Catholic sources of wisdom and Catholic forms of expression. The spec that we follow is the Edexcel Spec A course, which is linked on this PowerPoint, and students currently have 5 lessons over 2 weeks. The exam skills consist of 4 questions, so they will have an outline question or a state question, a describe and explain question, an explain question where they have to include a source of wisdom, and then an evaluate question, which is worth the most amount of marks, where students are required to look at both sides of an argument. The mock exams that we do both at the end of year 10 and in year 11 will inform students of those exam styles and the content. But to be honest, we do so many past paper questions in lessons that students are already really familiar with what the paper will look like and what sorts of questions there will be for them. The first paper, like I said, is worth 50%. The following 2 papers are only 50-minute papers and they are both worth 25% of the qualifications. Paper 2 looks at the religion of Judaism, Jewish beliefs and teachings and Jewish practices. And then paper 3 is philosophy and ethics. So arguments for and against the existence of God and then relationships in the 21st century. The link on the screen there is the revision guide that we advise students to purchase. However, we do provide a revision guide that includes a lot of information that students, well, all the information that students will need as well for the qualification. For the year 10 mock, which is on Monday the 16th, it's their first mock exam that they'll sit at the end of year 10. They are going to do 1 paper, which is the 50% qualification that they've been studying this year. Students have been sent home a couple of weeks ago with a revision guide that is sort of an interactive revision guide. So it requires them to sort of read through the information, process the information, and then apply the information to past paper questions on every topic that they could potentially be asked. You will hopefully have seen your child completing this homework, but if not, could you just double check with them that they are completing it? Their teachers are asking them to fill in sections weekly and to upload that onto Google Classroom. When they get into year 11, they'll be given the in-house sort of revision guide in the September. So that will include everything that they need for the 3 papers. And then in the mock exams, they'll sit then 2 In the mock exams in November, they'll sit 2 past papers. And before that, they'll be given practice papers and mark schemes so that they can, like Miss Daniel said in maths, it's about them being able to check their answers as well alongside the mark schemes. We will be holding after school revision classes in the run up to the mocks, and then after Christmas we'll be holding ones every week to encourage students to come along and just get into the routine of coming to after school sessions. Use of Google Classrooms, so students will be part of a Google Classroom for RE revision, and in that will be past papers, mark schemes and examiners reports, which are also all available in the teacher's classroom. So each teacher in their RE classroom has a display board that has all of those things available for students just to come and collect. Homeworks will cover those revision skills. And then in the February, so the second round of mocks in year 11, they will sit all of those 3 papers, and that will enable us then to look at our curriculum and see which areas we need to go back over to ensure that they're fully prepared for the real exams in year 11. If I just hand over now to Miss Hesse in English.
Hi, Miss, you're just muted. Could you unmute yourself?
Hi, sorry, I was on mute. I'm Mrs. Hesse, I'm Head of English. I'm just going to talk you over the course that we study in English that we're well into already with year 10, and then I'll explain how we set our mock examinations up in English. So your child will be studying English language we use the WJEC EduCass exam board. They'll study component 1 and component 2 language, which are 2 separate exams but make up 1 English language qualification. Component 1 is 20th century literature reading, and then they will produce a piece of creative prose writing in section B. That's a 1 hour and 45-minute examination, and it's worth 40% of the language qualification. Component 2 is the non-fiction examination, where students will read a 19th and a 21st century non-fiction piece that will share a topic or a theme, and then they will answer 6 questions. In section B, they will need to produce 2 pieces of non-fiction, transactional or persuasive writing. That qualification, that examination is worth 60% of the total qualification, and it's a 2-hour exam. English literature also has 2 components. Component 1, which is Macbeth, and a poetry anthology with 18 poems. That's quite a meaty component, but very enjoyable. Your children have already begun studying Macbeth. That one is a 2-hour exam, which is worth 40% of the total qualification. And component 2, we study 19th century prose and post-1914 drama, and they're A Christmas Carol and An Inspector Calls, and your child has already studied both of those texts. And lastly, in that component, they will study 2 unseen poems. They'll read a range of contemporary poems and to help them to prepare for that exam. Next slide, please. So there are 2 ways that we assess work for your children in English. Externally, because the course is linear and they will be sitting those exams that I've just mentioned. They sit all 4 of these examinations at the end of year 11. In year 10, we only do English language mock examinations, and that's what we're currently studying in English. In English, what we've done to prepare your children for these mock examinations is I have produced a booklet. That booklet also serves as a revision tool for students, in that it is a step-by-step guide to answering each question. Additionally, students are able to see in real time their grades. So every time they answer a question on the language paper, their teacher will put that into a spreadsheet. Students are privy to that spreadsheet. They can see it. They can see how their grades are worked out. It's something that they really enjoy. And additionally, it's a great tool for intervention for teachers. We can instantly see where gaps are in learning and plug those gaps. And students want to plug those gaps because they can see their marks being uploaded in real time. Internally and in lessons, everybody, sorry about that. Just give me, sorry, 1 second. So I was in the middle of explaining about our examinations, in particular what we do for year 10. So the way that year 10 works, the mock examinations that they sit next month in June will be the language examinations, component 1 and component 2. The literature examinations for mocks will happen in year 11. And if you could just move the slides along, please, sir. So on your screen, there should be some revision guides there. One for Macbeth, one for Inspector Calls, the Christmas Carol, the language examinations, and the poetry anthology. These are the ones that I would recommend to buy. They're all GCP and they cost around £5 each. But alongside these revision guides, we also use booklets in lessons, and these act as revision guides for our students and are helpful because they're a great way of looking at exactly what they did in class, but also the classwork that we do is targeted especially towards the assessment objectives for each of these examinations. If you could just move to the next slide for me, please, sir. Thank you. So how are we supporting your child with their exams in and out of school? Well, we've got a robust, challenging and well-sequenced curriculum. We understand that there is a lot of content with English, and we have designed the curriculum so that students are able to access it in a way that coincides with the mock examinations. And when we get into year 11, the course content is finished a few months before their exams, which means then once the question level analysis has been done for the second round of mocks, which are literature mock examinations, we get a good overview of where our students are, and that is when targeted revision begins. We, as I mentioned before, we have bespoke step-by-step booklets used in lessons and to be taken home for revision purposes. We're lucky enough to have 2 examiners in the department, so students know that they're getting exactly what the exam board is asking for, because our examiners in the department, they help with things like completing resources, targeted revision, alongside putting together packs for homework and for intervention. After school revision for year 10 will begin after this half term. We also have lunchtime writing clubs, homework tasks posted regularly on Google Classroom. In fact, there's a range of revision tools on Google Classroom right now designed to help your children with revising while they're off over half term. Next slide, please, sir. Post-mock support, as Mr. Loon mentioned, each student gets an individual QLA of all of their mock grades using a software that is designed to identify exam performance. Students will then be given bespoke resources to plug any gaps in their learning. But what it also helps us to identify, helps us to identify where groups of students have done really well, which means that we're not wasting any time going over stuff that they already know. These gaps in learning, they will trigger curriculum changes, mock review lessons with their teachers, and then we offer guidance support, individual QLA analysis for each student. So this will be a personalised QLA analysis, and this will be offered then so students can see immediately where they need to improve. Thank you very much for coming along this evening. It's so important to all of us that we have the support from home. It's absolutely invaluable in ensuring that, you know, our students do the very, very best that they can. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Hello, Mr. Davis. Now time for your section. And finally, just to finish off, just to help you support your young person through this next stage, you'll get a Year 10 course parent guide. You've already received the assessment information booklet, which was emailed out a couple of weeks ago, and the mock exam timetable, which was emailed out this week. And like I said, personalised timetables will go onto Arbor. People will be able to see what exams they have and when they have them. As everyone has said, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to get in contact with the school, and we'll do our best to support you and our young people. Again, I'd like to thank you for attending this evening, and I look forward to working with you for the lead up to the rest of the GCSE exams.